So let's talk about GRSE Detroit. Let's specifically talk about this one apartment complex that was in Detroit's red zone. And, you know, let's talk a little bit about me, just a little bit. My name's Darren Long. You know, I do security, or I work security. I don't want to say I do it, I work it. I'm trying not to work it necessarily. That's what I really, you know, I can really get out of it right now. Because no one really wants to pay me. But I grew up in apartment security, so I know how to do it. And I've always kind of dealt with difficult demographics. Kind of like that rowdy behavior. And so on this particular apartment complex, one particular part of the apartment complex was known to sell drugs. And I won't necessarily say they were rowdy, you know, but they were known to sell drugs. So there's a couple of things that you don't want to happen, you know, on properties in general, especially the ones with the difficult demographics. You don't want a whole lot of loitering. You want to smash that right away. Whether loitering in or outside the car. You know, if you're on your patio or you're on your balcony, you know, there's nothing I can say. And then you want to, as best as you can, enforce the rules, but they're rules and you can't really enforce them. And there's laws. You can enforce laws all depending on what the management company wants you to do, what the security company wants you to do, and what you feel comfortable doing, as long as they all line up. Now, I will say this. I will never let anyone turn me into a paper tiger. You know, you can't ask me to do things that are illegal, because some security companies have. And I'll let you know the limits of my ability. And I didn't get a job because of that one time. And management's absolutely the hammer. Now, a couple of things I just personally won't allow. You know, no drug dealing. I'm not having it. You know, I'll give you a heads up, like I did with that video, GRSE Detroit. You know, that's very disrespectful. Where I give the guy a head up. You know, and that head up is letting you know I'm building cases, is letting you know you need to stop doing what you're doing, or you know I'm actually work on burning you. You know, that's what I'm going to do. You know, and I really don't care about people smoking weed. You can smoke weed, you know, in your apartment, even if the apartment complex doesn't necessarily want that. You know, I tell them, you know, and I tell any manager, you probably, you know, that's probably a little too much. You don't want to get into that. I tell a security company, you know, my whole thoughts on it. Now, if you want me to do it, I ain't gonna say nothing to nobody. I'll just write it up, and let you do what you want. You know, because I'm not necessarily into putting people in the jail, especially over on some, you know, minor, you know, humbug shit. You know, I'm not really out there trying to humble anybody over some nonsense, trying to jam them up. You know, you can smoke weed in your apartment, but you can't sell drugs out your apartment. That's not going to happen. You can't smoke weed out there on your patio or your balcony. You shut that down too. And I ain't going to let a whole bunch of fighting going on, you know, burglary and theft if I can stop it. Now, in this particular, you know, apartment complex, you know, some woman got carjacked where I was on the other side of the property, you know, and after I wasn't working there anymore, somebody had actually got robbed in front of their apartment. That's why, you know, you want to know who's on the property. That's why you don't like the loitering. Who are you? Where are you going? What you doing? You know, and you don't always ask that question. Sometimes you just watch people, like, you know, do they have a purpose? Are they going into an apartment? What are they doing? You know, you don't necessarily need to say anything. All you got to do is stand there and watch them. And they'll take notice that you're watching them. You know, if you don't look like you belong, or you're not doing the right thing, I'm gonna stand there and watch you, especially after something happens. So, and even on that day that that day that lady got carjacked, you know, where the dude asked me, "Are you going to, you know, watch me like my bitch?" That's why I said, "Yeah, just like your bitch," right? And then we had a little bit of a power struggle. I wanted him to know that, you know, it didn't make any difference what he said. He don't run this bitch. When I'm out here, I'm in control of this motherfucker. Now, And, you know, and even earlier that day, there was some guy randomly walking on that property, and when I started to follow him, he bolted. He ran off the property. So, you know, that's those are the kind of things that go on. Now let's talk about my language, because a lot of people don't agree with my language. You say it lacks a certain amount of professionalism, and there's an argument for that. I'll give you that. But once again, I grew up in difficult demographics, so I deal with people differently. So at a certain age range, at a certain kind of demeanor, I will roll up on you and like, hey, listen, shut that shit down. I'm not really interested in what you're saying. You know, I don't want to hear that shit, player. You know, I kick that kind of street lingo. And I deal with somebody a little older. I don't necessarily, you know, address them that way, speak to them that way. It shouldn't be necessary. But then sometimes, you know, people like Bobby Houston and, you know, not Bobby Houston, Bobby Cummings, you know, from the Metro Mall. You know, sometimes they will actually bring that out of you, you know, because they're street people and they're in the street. And there are some older people in these places are in the street. Now, my whole philosophy is just because you broke and you don't have a lot of money, and you don't mean that you have to put up with a whole lot of bullshit and nonsense. Just don't. You know, you kind of want to just live your life. You know, be easy and be cool, go to work, do what you need to do, come home. You know, without having to deal with a whole bunch of nonsense. People hanging out, loitering, drugs selling, playing loud music. Nah. You know, because sometimes, you know, on these properties with difficult demographics, people just want to do whatever and feel like they can do whatever, and that you can't necessarily do anything about it. You know, and you know, my response to that is no. So I don't necessarily address people the same. People, you know, and I don't necessarily deal with all confrontation the same. You can't go into those environments having people think that you're soft and weak. It's easier to dial something back than it is to come in lay back and then turn it up, right? Because people are still trying to fill people out, and so I'm putting them on notice. You're not gonna bamboozle me. You're not gonna bullshit me. I know what the fuck is going on, and I say it in no uncertain terms. I do like to speak sometimes in no uncertain terms. Like, not only can you cognitively understand it, but my demeanor and the way that I say it will give you that emotional understanding, that instant understanding, like, oh, okay, this is what's going on with this nigga here. Yeah. You know, and I tell you, I'll be cool, you be cool, right? But don't do the dumb shit, because then I got to do this. Because I'm going to do what I came to do. Like Anthony Smith said, I know you're going to do your job. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to do what I need to do. I'm not going to underperform. And I'm not going to overperform. You know, some people say I do too much. I say I don't. I say I do what I need to do. I do what's correct, what's right, what should be done. A lot of people get on these properties and just collecting a check and they underperform. I just do the job. So, and then that thing with Tiffany Anderson, if you watch the first part of it, you know, I went and made sure, you know, they came back and she showed her ass because she listened to her friends, but they were lying. She didn't live there. None of them lived there. And then none of them would tell me who they were visiting. And if you don't think chicks deal drugs, I got a list of people from the Metro in my head that I can just rattle off to you. Chicks that just weren't holding the drugs, they were actually selling the drugs too. So, you know, you can't tell me that, because I know better. So, you know, what were they doing? And then I came back and, you know, it turned up and she felt like she wanted to do some things. She called some people. And actually, some people actually came out there. But, you know, people don't understand me. That I was ready for war. There's cars coming on there, dudes giving me the looks, and I guess they were Bloods or Crips or whatever the hell they was. I don't know, man. It would have made a difference to me if a gang of them came out there, man. As soon as the first pistol appeared or the first dumb shit appeared, we were going in. I mean, I will go there with you if that's where you want to go. I will. Not a problem. If that's what you want to do, then we will certainly do it. You know, because you have made it necessary. So let's go there. Let's do this thing for real. Don't talk about it. Be about it. Don't come there trying to intimidate me. I'm a very hard person to intimidate. You know, I can't say I can stand up to a whole bunch of torture. You know, I'm not going to tell you that. But I'm a very hard person to intimidate. Because I, you know, at some point in time, I'm just not hearing it. And I'm just not having it. So that's pretty much all I have to say. That the particular property was in the red zone. You know, I get my head together before I get there by listening to some fairly aggressive rap music. It's easier to dial something back when you first get on the property as opposed to coming in soft. You always need to be reasonable. You could understand that you can try to enforce some rules, but at the end of the day, it's just rule enforcement. It's a violation of the contract. The management company is the hammer. They're the ones that actually need to get them the hell up out of there. There's nothing you can really do about that. And that they pulled me off the property when I was willing to go back. I just said, y'all was gonna have to take me there and drop me off. You know, I can't have my car out there because, you know, because they smashed out the windows and everything. But and I thank you for that, because I need to change the windshield anyway. The other two windows, well, you know, I could have done without that, but, you know, I got a new kit and new graphics and all this other stuff because of what y'all did to my car, and the car looks, you know, it looks better. Thank you. I mean, I need a new headliner still. So, you know, I grew up in apartment security. I'm fairly good at it. And, you know, that's pretty much all I have to say.